right, welcome everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. We're very excited to have so many people joining us here today. We're gonna have a really interactive, really engaging session, I think, for you today. So we're gonna give a second here for our deck to get up so I can run through the agenda. But as we're doing that, I want to just encourage you to be really interactive with us today. Drop some comments in the chat here. Let us know where you're calling in from, what organization you're with, and as we go through, any questions you have, please drop them there for us. We're going to answer some questions as we go through the session, as well as leave some time for Q&A at the end here. So give us just a moment here to get the PowerPoint optimized, and we will be ready to kick off here today. As we're doing that, I'll just go ahead and introduce the session and myself. So the title of today's session is Driving Organizational Success Through Curated Online Training. I'm Josh Mitchell. I'm the Senior Director of Sales from OpenLMS. I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are at OpenLMS, give you some context for where we come from. But the bulk of today's session is actually going to be with our partners from Go1. They're going to be talking about their curated content and what they are able to offer our clients in that regard. So we're really excited to have them. I'll introduce our guests here from Go1 in a moment. So you can get to know them, but then I will give you a quick overview here of OpenLMS as we get started. So apologies for taking a moment to get everything properly up and running here, but we're almost there. All right, it looks like we've got it going. We're just getting to the right slides. All right, go back one more and we'll run through the introduction. There we are. Okay, we're on point. So I've already kind of done the welcome. I've already introduced myself. The agenda here is pretty straightforward. Like I said, I'm going to introduce our partners here from Go1 here in a moment. Then I'm going to give a quick overview, some context for who we are at OpenLMS and what we do. Then turn it over to our friends at Go1 to talk about what they're able to offer and what the integration, the partnership with OpenLMS looks like. We'll leave some Q&A here at the end as well. And like I said, I want to keep this really interactive today. So if you have any questions as we go, please do drop those in the comments. But we can go on to the next slide here. And I will turn it over to Shannon and Darren from Go1 to introduce themselves.
All right. Thanks so much for that, Josh. I appreciate that. So I'm Shannon Herrera. I am the content curation manager here at Go1. I have a background in instructional design and training and tech. I promise I'm better at tech than this typically. But I am passionate about instructional design. I used to work in a custom content creation shop. And yeah, so I'm really passionate about what we do here at Go1. And when I am not going into e-learning and looking at content, I am typically watching theater.
Awesome. My name is Darren. I'm head of sales here at Go1. I'm not nearly as smart as Shannon, and that's why she'll be talking most of the time. I've been with Go1 for 3 years, and predominantly my background is in HR. But the thing I do know is why people buy Go1 and how they feel about the different content offering. And I love to cook, and I have 2 kids. So that's me.
All right. I love the personalization. I didn't put those details in about myself, but I have 4 kids. So if you hear any crazy noise, it's probably as a result of that. But anyway, we'll go to the next here. So like I said, I'm gonna give a little overview here of OpenLMS and kind of what we do. And even for some of our clients who may be on the line today, I think we've got a mix of OpenLMS clients as well as prospective clients. A lot is changing at OpenLMS. And so I'll sort of set the baseline for what we're doing here. This little map here on the screen shows that we are really a global company. We are by far the largest provider, the largest commercial provider of Moodle-based solutions in the world. We have teams all over the globe. We have about 1,500 clients serving more than 8 million end users. All told across the globe, we have about 150 employees. And then these orange dots that you see on the screen are a really robust network of channel partners as well that are selling our solutions in markets where we don't have employees. So we have big teams in North America, in Colombia, in Australia, as well as in EMEA, which gives us pretty good global coverage, but we have great channel partners in many other markets around the world. So we truly are a global company. If you go on to the next slide, got a little bit more detail about kind of where we've come from. So OpenLMS is actually the bringing together of 3 Moodle companies over the last 16 months or so. So OpenLMS as a brand has been around for quite some time, was a very large Moodle provider in its own right. Over the last 9 months or so, 2 additional Moodle companies, eCreators out of Australia, eThink out of North America and EMEA, which is where I come from, have also been acquired by our parent company, Learning Technologies Group, and we are all combining into the new OpenLMS. The numbers that I just shared, the number of employees, the number of clients, that is the combination of all 3 of our companies. And we are well on the way now to becoming one integrated company with a really exciting set of solutions, which I'm going to cover here in a moment. But Learning Technologies Group is a publicly traded company on the London Stock Exchange. We have a great suite of sort of sister companies, additional products that we're able to offer to our clients, things that integrate really well, like the Instilled video platform, for example, some bespoke content solutions that we have to offer as well. So it's a great sort of complementary suite of solutions that we have across LTG. If we want to go on to the next, I'll give you just a high level here, and then we'll dig in a little bit more to what we offer in terms of platform. So across those 3 companies that have all come together as one, we had about 5 flavors of Moodle in use across our 3 companies. And what we have been doing over the last number of months, and what we're going to continue to do here going forward, is really distilling those down into 2 solutions for the market. These are Moodle-based solutions at their core. We build on top of Moodle, which is the most widely used LMS in the world, to add additional features and functionality that really fit some specific use cases. One of those products is education focused, OpenLMS EDU. The other is more professional education focused, and we are branding that as OpenLMS Work. My suspicion here today is a lot of our clients that are looking for off-the-shelf content, which is what Go1 brings to us, tend to be in the pro ed space. They're doing compliance training or some kind of onboarding, things like that. And so the work product in particular may be of interest. If we want to go on to the next here. This just gives a little bit more info, and I'm not going to read these slides to you. I hate it when I'm on presentations when people do that. But as I said, the OpenLMS EDU product is really education focused. We have a lot of clients in higher education in particular. So there's some great tools there like the personalized learning designer, which really add features and functions that faculty members really want. On the work side, a lot of these features are more administrative. So from a content standpoint, both platforms do pretty much exactly the same thing. The way in which they deliver that, the tools that they give to administrators to actually administer their training or administer their education, that's where the differences lie. But these are modular products. So these are plugins that we have built on top of the Moodle platform to extend functionality and do a lot of different things. Some of the other things we do at OpenLMS is we do a lot of training. So the OpenLMS Academy is really focused on training our clients and our non-clients, Moodle users in general, on how to use the platforms in optimal ways, how to effectively teach and learn, how to build content natively using H5P. We have a course running on that, things of that nature. As I mentioned, we have bespoke content services that we're able to offer as well in-house. We're sort of branding that as OpenLMS content services. So a really full suite of both product offerings and service offerings is what we do here at OpenLMS. I have one final slide to sort of elaborate on that a little bit more. So because this is open source software that we are providing, and I should mention both of these OpenLMS products, the EDU product and the work product, we are in the process of fully open sourcing those. So we are releasing code every couple of weeks. We have press releases and blog posts to detail what we are releasing. The goal is by the end of the year, we will have fully open sourced everything that we're doing. That's really exciting, in particular on the work side, because there is no professional education focused truly open source work LMS out there. And that's what OpenLMS Work really will be. What we do then, because this is open source software, we enable our clients or our non-clients to go download it themselves, is we provide the absolute best, most optimized hosting in the world. We've been doing SaaS since 2008. We have great expertise in how to do that at a very scalable, very reliable sort of offering. And we also have incredible expertise in how to implement and how to optimize use of these platforms. And that's really what we give to our clients. So we give them a lot of consultative guidance on how they should set up the platform, because it is so robust. It can be done so dynamically. We really hold their hand and bring them along a path to set it up in a way that's going to work for them. We also provide great service. So when our clients need something, they put in a support ticket. We respond to it in under an hour on average. If you think back to that map that showed our presence across the globe, we really have follow the sun type of service here at OpenLMS. So all of our SLAs are written around the specific market that they're in. But the reality is, because we have staff all over the world, we're able to respond to things really quickly and really have follow the sun service, which no one in the OpenLMS, or I'm sorry, in the open source LMS space is able to offer. So this is really what makes us special, is this deep expertise that we have, the quality service we provide. It's really unmatched in this industry. All right, so that was my spiel, sort of giving you some context of who OpenLMS is. But one of the exciting things that we do is we also have really sort of end-to-end kinds of solutions by partnering with great organizations like Go1. So we have many clients, as I said, that are looking for off-the-shelf content. They want it to integrate really deeply into their LMS, and they want it to be easy. And that's really what we're able to offer with Go1. So I'm going to turn it back over, I think, to Darren first. Darren and Shannon are going to come back in and tell you more about what they have to offer.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. So we're going to walk you through the Go1 offering, but I thought we'd start by telling you who we are. So Go1 is an Australian-based company. We're backed by Salesforce and Microsoft, and we've been around for about 5 years. And what we did 5 years ago is we built a lightweight LMS. And when we started to deploy it to our customers, their first feedback was, well, I need content, and I need content on different topics. And so we turned around and said, okay, why don't we create a new product that would kind of embrace what this need is? And that's the Content Hub. So the Content Hub is what you might think of is a Netflix of different providers. So within this provider network, we have about 110 different providers and about 80,000 different courses. So the expectation from our customers and you guys on this webinar is that you would have access to content as you need it through one source. And what we also found is we created this huge content hub, but our LMS is kind of a lightweight LMS. And so we needed more scalable solutions. And that's why we partnered with OpenLMS. So we validated that the content works, and then we can validate that it scales on a platform like OpenLMS. So let me show you what it looks like from an offering perspective. So this is the problem statement that we ran into. And at Go1, we joke about it as the olden days. So in most organizations, you would have to go to 5 or 6 different content providers and select the content that you needed. And then getting that ingested into your LMS was always a problem because you never knew if it was going to work. And then once you did that, you never knew when the updates came and if they were automatically populated. And the other problem that companies were running into is not only would they buy content, but they would go around the LMS, so reporting was never correct. And so we solve all of those problems. The funny thing that we find with most of our customers is that in our network of 110 different providers, they'll point to them and say, oh, I use 4 or 5 of those different content providers now, and I have 5 or 6 different relationships. And so the idea of consolidating that bandwidth issue of multiple relationships with multiple providers, and also having the opportunity to have multiple content topics available has been really important to them. So this looks like spaghetti. So if you didn't want spaghetti, the next slide will show you what it looks like in the ideal state. So here we have what the Go1 OpenLMS partnership looks like. So on the left-hand panel, you see 110. We didn't put all the logos there, not enough screen space, providers. And what Go1 has mastered is going in, taking that content, normalizing it, and then making sure that it works in the OpenLMS system, which is really important for anyone who's bought off-the-shelf content and just thought it would automatically work and then discovered it doesn't work. And then the benefit, once it's in OpenLMS, then you can satisfy all your existing content needs. And as incremental questions come up about, oh, I need, first-time manager or email etiquette courses, or a new sexual harassment course. As those come out, then you have access to those as you need. So you don't have to go back and find a new content provider that satisfies whatever that new need is. So it really is the single source from a content perspective to satisfy all your content needs. And the other benefit is that the content library isn't static. So we have an active content acquisition group that goes out and says, hey, we need financial certification courses, and they'll go out to content providers, take that content, put it into our library, and then that content's also available to you as a customer. So the content library evolves, and you get to evolve, you get the benefits of that evolution.
Okay, thanks, Darren. So Darren talked about how big our library is, which is great. But what we're here to talk about is how curated online training programs can be really successful in your organization. So I wanted to chat a little bit about that today. So Darren already talked about the total coverage that Go1 has and how important that is in an online training program. As he mentioned, you may have a need come up that you didn't know you needed before, whether that be an updated sexual harassment training, or maybe a new maybe you've brought on a new department and there's some new training that needs to be done there. And so total coverage is really important when you're creating an online training program. But with over 80,000 courses in our library, that can be really overwhelming, and we get the question a lot. So how do I make a successful online training program with all of the courses that you have? Because there's so many. And so, we really recommend that our organizations think about how to simplify their online training programs, and how to do that is really through curation. How to find the courses that are going to resonate with your employees, make it easy to access, which we do through the OpenLMS system, consistency in delivering and reporting, so who has taken those courses, and that they're getting it in one place, so streamlined. So rather than having to go to 3 or 4 different places to get the right courses, like you've got a compliance LMS, or and a leadership LMS, that everything is in one place. So we really simplify that. And then scalable. Scalable is really important with these online training programs, because as your company grows, you want to make sure that you have access to content quickly. So as I mentioned in my intro, I used to work for a custom content agency, and scalable is something that's really hard to do when you're doing custom content. Whether you're doing it in-house or doing it externally, that scalable part can be slow. You're slow to market when you're creating new content. And so by using an off-the-shelf provider like us, you can easily roll out content to new employees. It's flexible in your completion requirements to meet different skill sets. So I'll dig into that a little bit. So when we have new employees come on, or if we have employees come on board and they're maybe new to their industry, then it's really important that you have an online training program that guides them through that learning process, teaches them all the skills they need to be successful, right? Like that's what we want for our employees, so they can get up and running really quickly. But say you hire a new leadership team, or somebody from an outside organization, then it can be really important that you're giving them flexibility in that completion. A new leader comes on board, they've got 20 years of experience. You don't want to necessarily give them a learning or a training program that's got 15 courses, everything from delegation to conflict resolution, when they have a lot of experience. And so this flexibility in learning programs allows you to say to a new learning team, or new new leader, here are the courses we recommend. You can take the courses that resonate with you, or maybe where you feel like you need a little bit more support. So that's where it can be really scalable.
So,
and then
Shannon,
go ahead, Derek.
I have a quick question. Like the number one thing that we hear about from our enterprise customers is language support. So when you talk about language support from the different providers, is it 1 or 2 different format or different languages, or what do you typically see?
Oh, that's a great question. So you're right. We get a lot of requests for language requests for different languages. If it is a US-based company, oftentimes they're looking specifically for Spanish. We're also seeing an uptick in Arabic and Chinese in those requests, I think, which just shows the diversity in the US. But we also have a lot of global companies. So we have over 30 different providers that give us content in different languages, and everything from IT skills to leadership skills, as well as safety, kind of everything in between. So Yeah, that's a great question, but we actually have a number of providers that give us content in that area.
So I have a quick question from the chat room. What about CE credits from accredited colleges?
So from accredited colleges, those kind of credits are a little bit hard to put into an aggregator like ourselves, because it can be a little bit hard to track and things like that. But we do have continuing education credits that come from bodies like SHRM or PMI and those kind of bodies. We have a number of courses in that area.
Awesome.
Great. Any other questions?
Not for now, but if anyone else has more questions, just put them in the chat window.
Yes, absolutely. So the benefits of a content curation, really personalizing the experience, there's a lot of benefits for your company. So it allows you to create an experience for your employees that focuses on the company goals. Whenever you're looking at a learning program, at the core of that should be, what are your company's goals and objectives for the year, and how do we meet that through training? It also ensures that the content is in line with your company culture and values. So, if you have a very young employment base, and so you want to make sure that your content is, micro learning or videos, so something that's really quick and easy to consume, then you can make sure the content resonates with your employees. It also allows managers to choose content with objectives that will lead to the desired behavior change. So, maybe there's a new initiative about upskilling your employees in Excel. Then you can go in and pull content that is going to lead to that desired upskill, rather than maybe them being thrown into a library of a bunch of courses, but maybe the employee doesn't know how to find them. And then yes,
I have a question. Sorry, but how many for Excel? Like, how many different providers are there available that can do Excel courses, and how do you discover the right one for your organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are 20 different providers that give us Excel courses. Like I said, we have them in multiple languages. We also have in multiple formats. So the great thing about having our variety of providers is that we have Excel courses that are really long and complex and include everything you could ever need to know about Excel. But we also have courses that are micro learning. And so maybe somebody just really needs to go in and learn about pivot tables. They can go take a 10-minute course on how to do pivot tables. We also have a variety of formats in that, where maybe it's just a video talking about how to do something versus maybe a more interactive course that actually allows you to try things out in a safe environment. So there's a lot of different options, which can feel really overwhelming. There's some ways that we can search in the library, which I'll show in just a minute. But also with Go1, you have access to a customer success manager that can help guide you to find the content that is really going to work for your employees.
Awesome.
So all of these things really lead to this enhanced culture of learning. And the culture of learning is really important as a business, but also for your employees. Having curated content that they can go to help them with their day-to-day jobs, they see how the training relates to their day-to-day job, which is really important. It makes it feel, relevant. It's not like the geometry that we all got in high school that none of us have ever used before. So it connects that to their tasks. It also makes them feel more connected to the company's values. If they're taking courses, that highlight whatever is important to your company, and then it leads to better training and retention. And we all know that the better trained our employees are, the happier they are in their jobs, the more likely they are to stay. And we all know how incredibly expensive it is to train employees. So we talk about the content curation and how personalized it can be really important. But I also want to talk about self-directed learning for just a minute. With our library, you have access to all of our content. And curating content is very important to help meet your company's goals and objectives. And we want to help you with that. But there's a huge benefit to your employees to be able to have them access that content and be able to find things on their own. So, as an L&D department, maybe you've curated content for your different departments, but
Shannon, I think you're frozen. Or is that me? Shannon? Shannon? Oh, okay, great.
Sorry about that, and I'm back. So as a manager, if I'm looking for content on communication, I can go in and look for content that is specific to that. So, maybe I'm looking for conflict resolution, or maybe I'm looking about how to help my employees manage up. As a manager, I can take initiative and go and find that content outside of maybe what's been curated for the library. But then also as an employee, if maybe I'm looking for my next promotion, or I am or I'm looking just to be better at my job, I can go into that library and find the things that are going to be really important. We have a number of courses which I consider to be our lifelong learning courses, things like Blinkist, which are summaries of nonfiction books on things like crucial conversations or the art of happiness. And so as an employee, I can go in and find that content so that I can be better at my job. So there's a lot of benefits in, not only just our content that we're going to curate that is focused on compliance or very specific things, but that also allow your employees to go in and find the information that's really interesting to them.
So this is actually a really big deal because it allows, the employee for personal development. Can you talk about some of the wellness-related courses that are available that have been, super popular, especially during COVID, as people are, trying to figure out like, how do I do my job and how do I stay healthy?
Yeah, our wellness courses are really interesting, and I actually love seeing the consumption on our wellness courses because I find it a little fascinating what people are consuming. But we have courses on mindfulness and meditation and yoga. There's an intro to yoga class that's been very popular through COVID, as people are trying to find other ways to balance their work-life balance and their home life, particularly when we're just at home, so there is no balance. So that intro to yoga class has been really popular. We also have a lot of courses on resilience and dealing with change, which I think we've all had to do far more than we anticipated. And so we have seen that both in the self-directed content, but also from the curated content. I think managers are taking more interest in the mental health of their employees and trying to give them the resources that they need to be really successful in all aspects. And so I think that that's actually been a really important thing that we've seen. And I really appreciated seeing that uptick in our content consumption.
Right. Awesome.
Great. Any other questions?
No,
Okay.
No.
I'm going to move into our actual system for just a second and kind of show you how easy it is to find content. So I am going to stop sharing and share another screen really quick. So this is the back end of our system, and this is where, as an OpenLMS administrator, you could come in to curate content. So you can take all of this content and put it into your library, or you can come in and start filtering your content here in our content hub. So as I said, it's actually pretty easy to navigate, but it is helpful to have a little bit of an idea of what you're looking for, because if you look for leadership, you can see that we have 6,000 courses, and that can be really overwhelming. And so we've put in some filters so that you can start narrowing things down. and getting a little bit closer to, to what you're looking for. So for example, if we put leadership in for content for a contact center, you can see that we have one there, but, maybe contact center is not quite the right word. And so, you can kind of play with your words here and look for this, but, like call center management, we have some really specific courses on that. And, for leadership for a call center, you'd actually, want to give some variety, but some really specific content about that I think is really helpful when put into a learning path with additional leadership that applies to all areas. You might also decide that part of your leadership training, you really want to include something like emotional intelligence. That's, a big topic right now. I think that there's a lot of importance in understanding, how we exist in the world and how we affect others. And you can see that we have a number of emotional intelligence courses. These are really great courses. I really recommend a lot of these. But, looking at this, 388 is not bad to navigate, but maybe you want to find something, maybe you want to give them a little bit of depth, but not too much. And so you're going to come in here and you're going to say, I really want to see only courses between 15 and 30 minutes. And, you've got 78 results, which are pretty good, but, maybe you've looked at Talent Quest in the past, which is a very popular US provider, and you want to just look at their courses. And you see here that they have a number of emotional intelligence courses that you can then hone in and find the one that really is going to resonate with your employees, that, shows your culture. And so, we've made it easy through our filters, as well as the partnership that you'll have with your customer success manager to really help you curate the content that makes sense for your employees.
So Shannon, so if I came in here, identified what courses I want, then what's the next step? Like, how do I get this into OpenLMS?
Yeah, so you would just come in here and you can identify which courses you want. You can download them and then upload them into the LMS. So that is the current process, but there will also be an integration.
Right. In the future.
Yes, the near future.
And by integration, you mean you can access all the content when you log into OpenLMS, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect.
Great. I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint here, and then I will turn it back over to Darren.
PowerPoint loading.
There we go.
Awesome. So with the OpenLMS partnership, as we've already talked about, the entire Content Hub is available. I'm not going to go through all of the talking points that Shannon just mentioned. I think the biggest one is saving money and consolidating vendors to one vendor. So, we have a company, EDF, for example, that saved 75% of their overall content off-the-shelf spend simply by consolidating to Go1. And remarkably, four of the vendors that they invested in before were already part of our network. And going back to the increased engagement, the one talking point that is really important is a lot of companies are using this as a retention tool. So, getting employees the benefit to develop personally as well as professionally has been something that gets people to stay at their current employer. So it's a great investment to make people better on their own. So in doing this, we put together a package that's available to all of you, which is on the next slide. So what we wanted you to see is the different providers and the different formats in which they're delivered. So, Real Interactive, EJ4, Vado, these are all top premium providers. And what we did is we went back and we said, okay, let's look at the reporting and what consumption looks like, and what can we make available for anyone in the OpenLMS platform. So here, these courses will be available. We can immediately upload them into your platform for you to test, review, and you'll get a better sense of what the provider's format and how they deliver it to you. And then once you do that, if you want to see other topics that they cover, we can provide that to you as well for a trial period.
And I have to say, I helped with this list and threw in my favorite course, which is the Emotional Life Skills by Will Interactive. It's Yeah, it's one of my favorite courses. So that was my gift to everybody today.
That's awesome. Awesome. So back to you, Josh.
All right, I'm back. Well, that was excellent. Thank you, Darren and Shannon, for that great overview. I think we've got some time left here for questions. There have been some questions that have come into the chat that we've already answered as we've gone. Please, if you have additional questions, drop them there. But we also got a lot of questions in advance of the session, people that had signed up and said, here are some things that I want to understand as a result of attending this session. So I'll give you one of those first because it kind of relates to something you were just talking about. But somebody asked that they said they have existing agreements with some of the providers that you're talking about or that they expect are in your library. So how can they end those contracts and move over to Go1?
So I'll do that one. They can't. So what we typically do is we'll work within that construct. So because most content contracts are between 1 and 3 years. So if they have if there's some balance on that agreement, we'll usually work with them in terms of transitioning them over. But there is no way to terminate an existing contract and move over to Go1.
Got it. So here's another question that I think we've covered a little bit, but maybe we can go into this in a little bit more depth. So this person was asking, they were asking, how do I know that all the content in the library is going to work with OpenLMS? And I'll expand that one out a little bit to ask just for more of the mechanics of how this works. So it's essentially a plugin, but can you expand on that a little bit more?
Sure, I can answer that. So all of our content goes through an extensive QA process when it comes into our platform. So to ensure that everything works on within the LMS or within the Go1 LMS. But then additionally, when we build or when we go to OpenLMS, we go through a separate QA process to make sure that everything loads properly, that the completion statuses are all reporting correctly and everything like that. So there's an extensive QA process kind of at a few different points in that process to ensure that the content works properly.
So I think we should admit that this is very hard because every content creator does it in a different format, or things just like the metadata that describes it, like duration or description or languages. This is a very hard process that we've mastered in the last 4 years. So anyone who's bought from multiple providers and tried to just import it and have it work, it's really hard. And so the fact that we do it 2 times, one at first to get into Go1 and 2 to make sure it works in OpenLMS is really a gift because it's really hard to do.
Awesome. Yeah, I think this is one of the great values of what you guys do is you bring it all into a single place and make it work. All right, so how about you have this extensive library. Someone is asking, is there a way to restrict that library if they give access to their employees to be able to browse their own content?
Yeah, you have the option to either make the library open to your employees, or you can, create content, you can create learning paths and give people access to those, or you can even say that this is the subset of the library that everybody has access to. So you have a lot of control over what you give them access to, what restrictions, and you could even do it. There's even some role-based kind of restrictions that you can do as well to make sure that your employees aren't going in and listening to Blinkist courses all day long. You could definitely put some restrictions on that if you'd like to.
And one that I think kind of follows on to that one is, do you have people that can help identify the right courses and help our clients sift through what you have to offer?
Yes, absolutely. So when you become a customer with OpenLMS and Go1, you're given a customer success manager who really helps you navigate the library, identify what providers are going to work for you, what content, and then also with my team, the content curation team, if you've got a really specific learning program that you're trying to develop, and maybe it requires just a little bit more hands-on, then my team can also jump in and help curate that content. So you have lots of help along the way. We're definitely not going to throw you into that library and just hope you figure it out. So we're here for you on that.
Excellent. I see a question in the chat that I can actually answer here. Someone is asking, is OpenLMS using Moodle or is it completely different software? So OpenLMS is essentially Moodle with a number of plugins that our team has developed that provide things that our customers have wanted and needed. And as I talked about at the beginning, all of those things are being open sourced as well. So it is Moodle at its core. As Moodle releases new updates and versions of its software, we are updating our own plugins to continue to work on top of that. So it is Moodle. If you're using Moodle today and you're just looking for better support, more optimized hosting, that's exactly what we can provide to you. All right, let me go back to, there's more questions coming in the chat, but I have another for our friends at Go1 here that someone had submitted in advance. So this is kind of in follow-up to these questions about the library. What happens if there is some content that somebody wants that is missing, if there's content that is not in the library currently?
Oh yeah, that's an excellent question. So as Darren mentioned, we have an acquisition team that's constantly looking for content, and we will, and so we have a strategy around content. But say you have something really specific that you're looking for, we can absolutely help you with our relationship with a lot of different vendors, and our relationship in this space. We can go to partners and get new content. So for example, we had a provider who was really interested in ILT content, and they were actually going to administer their own ILT, but they needed the actual content packages of instructor-led training. So we went out and were able to procure the ILT provider who had content already created that our customer could then go and use. So we can absolutely help you out. There's some areas that are easier to find than others, but we're committed to helping our customers find the content that they need to run their businesses.
I think it's also important to add on that we add 10 new partners a month. So, 2 years ago when I started, or 3 years ago when I started Go1, we had 4,000 courses. Now we're up to 80,000. And I think we jump at about 10,000 every month from the different providers. So what you see today is not what you're going to see tomorrow. And it's very common for our customers and our prospects to influence where we spend our time.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I think we'll go back and forth here with some more OpenLMS oriented questions in the chat, and then I'll answer one of those and then go back to another question for you all. Somebody is asking about, essentially they're asking about integration into a student information system in particular. And I'll generalize that a little bit to say that integration is one of the services that we provide at OpenLMS. So our clients use a variety of student information systems. They use a variety of HRIS systems or ERP systems, and they want to both push and pull information to and from those systems. And that is something that we help them do. We have a lot of expertise in that area. We have an entire technical services team that specializes in integration. So we have a lot of options there, from flat file automated processes to direct connections that do things in real time. So the long and the short of it is that we can integrate with just about anything. We just have to understand, what you're looking for from an integration, and then we can look at what are the options for doing that, and ultimately implement that and support it on your behalf. So hopefully that answers that question. Let me go back to a question for Darren and Shannon. So somebody asked, and this gets right to it. Maybe this is a Darren question because it's a sales-oriented one, but how are you different from LinkedIn Learning or Open Sesame?
That's a great question, and we hear it a lot. So if you were looking at an apples to apples comparison, Open Sesame is really our own true. They're a network provider as well, right? They go out, and you might see about a 60% overlap from their network to our network. Our network is simply bigger. I think their current offering is about 35,000 courses, and we're at 80,000, growing fast, very quickly. When it comes to somebody like LinkedIn Learning, they're a single course provider. So if, in the ideal state, one day Go1 will have LinkedIn Learning as a provider as part of our network. So with LinkedIn Learning, they have very high quality content, but very limited, not very limited, but limited topics. So if you needed things like sexual harassment for the different states, then you have one choice. You don't have any choices on LinkedIn Learning. And if you want it in different formats, you don't have that choice as well. Whereas, Shannon mentioned earlier, we have, 20 different Excel providers. So if you wanted to go and evaluate them at the provider level, you have that diversity with us, and you don't have that with LinkedIn Learning. But, LinkedIn Learning is high quality content. And if that's all you need, then they're a great fit. But if you need like diversity and you want to satisfy all your content needs, then Go1's a better fit. And if you need a bigger library, then we're a better fit than Open Sesame.
I think specifically for LinkedIn Learning and micro learning, that's an area that, where if you've got employees that you're wanting to get content to quickly and in really short formats, that's something that we have a very large variety in the micro learning space. And so I think that's definitely something that puts us a little bit ahead on that.
Awesome. All right, well, let me ask one more that's in the chat here that's more OpenLMS oriented. Someone's asking about if OpenLMS has a different plugin directory or if they can use existing Moodle plugins. So we do maintain a plugin matrix at OpenLMS, and really what that is a set of plugins that we have reviewed. We know work. We know are going to continue to work as versions are updated. We know they're well maintained, and we can easily recommend those and roll those out to our clients. There are plugins all the time that people bring to us, whether they're custom or whether there's something that's out there in the maybe it's new. People bring them to us and say, I want to use this. We provide services to review those things as well, and often add things to our plugin matrix. We have options for clients to use things that are not in the plugin matrix. They just have to be reviewed. We want to make sure they're going to work. But by and large, anything that is relatively, commonly used out in the market is probably already in there. So really, no differences is the long and the short of it in terms of what you can use out in the Moodle verse versus what we have here at OpenLMS. All right, so we've had a bunch of questions about pricing. So why don't we go there, Darren or Shannon? I'm not sure who wants to take that, but how does this all price?
That's all Darren.
No, I want to see you do it, Shannon. That's fun. So our pricing is based on an annual subscription, very similar to, say, a Netflix model. It's based on the number of seats. So if you want specific pricing for your organization, and it's based on one price. So it's based on access to the entire library. So all we need to do is get the number of learners that you want to have access to the library, and we can provide the pricing for that. So I think we're going to provide contact information for you after this so that you can reach out to Go1.
Great. Yeah, and I think to that point, what we're going to do in follow-up to this, we had some contact information on some of the slides earlier. I'm not sure we have one here at the end, but that's okay because we are going to follow up with everybody that attended. You'll get a follow-up email from us that'll have contact information. You can feel free to reach out. If you have any questions about either OpenLMS or about Go1, we'll make sure to get those to the right person so that we can get appropriate follow-up to you. I think we've covered most all of the topics. We've asked things perhaps in some different ways than they initially came in. But again, we have this is a really exciting partnership. We're so thrilled that Go1 has curated some great courses to be able to offer to all of our clients. So if you're an OpenLMS client and you want to take advantage of this, you just have to ask. If you are a prospective client, I think this should be something that excites you about partnering with OpenLMS is that you come on board and you immediately have access to great content right from the word go. So if you have further questions about that, feel free to ask. But we do have one more question that came in here. Give me a second to read this. It's another sort of Moodle Open LMS related question. So Moodle is open source and can be customizable. Is OpenLMS also open source like Moodle? Yes, it is. In fact, what is really different, and I referenced this earlier, OpenLMS work, for that matter, will be fully open source, whereas Moodle's professional education version of Moodle, which is called Moodle Workplace, is not. You can go and you will be able to, as we fully release everything, you'll be able to run OpenLMS work on your own if you so choose. We think we can host it and manage it for you better than anyone can do on their own. But if you want to run it yourself, you can. That's really unique. It's the only product that is work-oriented that you can do that with. It is fully customizable in the same way that core Moodle is. All of our clients use OpenLMS in different ways, and we help our clients think through what they want to use, what plugins are relevant to them, what do they actually want to enable, what do they want to hide, what course formats make the most sense, all of those kinds of things. So that's one of the things that makes Moodle really special. By the same token, it makes OpenLMS really special, is that it is so robust and so customizable. And we, with the team of experts we have, will help you do that in a way that's going to make it something that your users want to use. And you'll have great content from Go1 when they get in there.
Awesome.
I think that's it for questions, guys. Any final comments or closing words of wisdom?
No, we really appreciate. Sorry, we really appreciate you having us.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we are very excited to be able to offer this to all of our clients. So again, there will be some follow-up. If you have questions, feel free to reach out, and we're happy to have one-on-one conversations and answer anything that we can. So it's been a pleasure, Darren and Shannon, having you here today. Thank you to all of our attendees for joining us, and we will look forward to seeing you on the next OpenLMS Live webinar. Everybody have a great day.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.